Otherwise, we will take it up when those two items are done. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Sure, well, what I did, and I'm on page 227.
Right, and I apologize, I confess that I did not review this memo prior to this moment, so I'm sorry that I didn't fully present all that information.
No, that's fine. So we're just not programmed right now to dive into this,
Sure.
to this program. So it's just it's a matter of trade-offs. CDA has been, focused on neighborhood loan and taking a look at our future market for housing. And so we just can't, like, if we move forward on that, we're not gonna move forward on.
I think the housing and market study is going to touch upon why we have commercial vacancies. And just one other thing, and then Trustee Warren, I definitely do not support this program because it is, the only people that are going to feel the pain are the small businesses that are trying to rent out their old tiny spaces. Katz doesn't care about a 500 fine. Yes, Wesley.
And just procedurally, are we talking about actually having to take this up or just considering this as an initiative for inclusion in the 2019?
So that's the other
Did you
option.
do 19 or 20? I thought you said 19. Did we already do that?
I don't know when you speak. Okay, so one thing that I think would be more palatable, given what we have in the works this year, is saying, okay, this is here, provided to CDA to evaluate whether they want to continue to move forward with it. My understanding, and I did some looking at the information that was out there, but, and also conferring with the planning development director, I think that there was some thought given to it in the past, but a lot of the details have yet to be evaluated and vetted. And so recognizing that, it's just not taking it off the shelf and then moving forward. But I think giving to the CDA to say, okay, when we have an opportunity to actually do a thoughtful review of what has been there, coming back maybe and saying, is this something that you guys want to pursue in 2020? I recognize that it's been out there and there may be frustration from Director Lang that perhaps it didn't move forward in a time frame that she may have desired, and I fully understand the reaction to want to proceed with this in light of some of the responses that they've gotten. But I'm just trying to be cognizant of.
Why do we have vacancies as a question? Yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to just, absolutely, I agree, and I wanted to be clear that my intent for bringing it forward to this board to consider is only to fulfill a duty that I feel that I have in terms of collaboration and to be that liaison, It's not to tell the CDA they have to stop working on something that they're midstream with. It's really a point of kind of taking a read. What are our options as a village board? What does that mean? And if it means that even asking for more information is a bigger job than we thought, I would simply go back to the bid board and explain that at this time and just say, realistically, time-wise, this is what we're looking at. So there's no time sensitive. Anything that we did on this would take months and months and months of consideration and work, so no one is at the bid.
But they're done with it. So she created the program.
Could I
Sure.
really have 4 more words. There is no time sensitive, there's no expectation that something can happen literally next week that would end this agony that we have going on in our community around the long-term vacancies that we all know exist. So that's all that I wanted to say to my fellow board members as far as my intent tonight.
And just to clarify, she presented a written policy to the CDA. So it's not that we need more information. We can circulate that document at any time. It's that she wants us to look at that program that she wrote up. This is what she said to the CDA, and either adopt it or not. And of course, we can do whatever we want at CDA. So I just wanted to clarify that it's.
The request came from other board members, not the executive director of the bid board.
Do you have the document? Maybe we just circulate it.
So I do, it's actually linked in my memo.
Okay.
So a
Yes.
Okay, a suggestion I would have is that if this group wants to have it looked at, if you don't have to look at it, fine. If you do, I'm suggesting that you take it up when we, and now I know you're talking about
2020,
for
right?
prioritization in 2020
Yes, I think it was
with either the CDA or the board.
I Trustee Bosworth, I'm sorry.
Okay, I guess the only thing I would say that might be pertinent, at least in the short term, is there are differing levels of understanding or history with this, and it might be, if nothing else, nice for us to have, we could either ask for Director Lang to give a quick presentation, or, like you said, just maybe we just have the.
We actually do have access to it through our packet.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah, just read it.
I just had a quick.
Yeah, I do feel I think it might be worthwhile taking up in 2020, as Rebecca, but the housing market study that CDA is under, the market study will give some indication of maybe why there's some vacancies and why it's stayed consistent for the last 10 years. It's just a rotating same vacancy rate. So if we could get that information, it would help us guide what the solution may be. It could just be that we have no office development, and maybe, there's different reasons why we have.
Well,
and I
another
just-
reason to discuss this at the board level is that there might not be a complete understanding of the fact that we do have 93% occupancy rate in this village. It's
and
really
the
high.
same.
But
Yeah,
so,
it's been the same for 10 years.
I
so-
know it has, but I've also
It's the same
heard kicked
property.
around by a variety of people that, there are all these empty storefront, it's a great educational opportunity, I think, for our board, is what I'm saying. By
Yeah.
having a discussion potentially at the committee level with.
Absolutely, and I think the market study is going to get to that, a little bit of the cause, and then the solution may be this retail vacancy program.
But it sounds like the businesses are asking for this, right?
The bid board members.
Oh, okay.
On
So-
behalf. Yeah, there's no specific business, it's more,
There's
the
that.
bid board members in, part of their
businesses.
duty is
Go ahead.
outreach. This is the current bid board, so
I understand, she asked about the businesses. We received a letter from Blair Williams when he found out about the program. He's a business, and he was completely opposed to it for exactly the reason I just said, that the small businesses, she's in charge, so there's been history.
I thought it was
Right, this
people
is
that
just a-
wanted to come to
Right.
Shorewood and do business, sorry.
right, I think it might be, I know that there is that history, I guess I'm just trying to report on the current, why I'm coming at this point.
Which is my reason why we should maybe have a discussion. No, it's not.
It's just a discussion.
This to me seems like there's a lot of history, and I don't feel like I have the complete picture of kind of what we've done in the past and what the proposal is, so I don't know what we do with that, but I mean, I personally am feeling a little bit kind of lost in the nuance here, and I'd like to read through everything and get more of a sense of the history.
Right, so I guess all that's before us tonight is to determine whether we want it to go to committee to discuss whether we want to pursue it further or,
And I would suggest you go to CDA if possible, because that's where it started.
But we're not CDA though. I'm not just saying, well, do we have a motion? We made a motion, right?
I
Someone-
suggested that, a recommended motion, if you so desire, that you would move that the CDA and or village board consider this as an initiative for inclusion in the 2020 prioritization process. I mistakenly wrote 2019.
Yeah.
So my
I would,
apologies for that. But that was just my suggestion, doesn't mean
And
that.
I agree with you.
I'd make that motion.
so moved.
Wait,
Okay, can you repeat?
Oh,
Would we take it up at, what was it? This,
Oh, I second.
move that the
I'm fine with
CDA
that, so
and
make a
village
motion.
board considers an initiative for the inclusion in the 2020 prioritization process.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
when you say taking it up in the 2020 prioritization process, you mean it's just a potential item?
Potential items.
Oh, yeah,
or
sure,
put
why
it in the
not?
workbook.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, not to do it, to
Okay, so we have a,
But just for clarification, so in that scenario, I would communicate with the CDA that the board has asked, or is this the board? Am I communicating with the CDA or am I communicating with you?
either or, it's and or.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't know which one, if you want, I didn't know if it was, this is just something that you wanted to deal with at the board, or is this something that,
did the CDA submit it as part of their prioritization last year?
no.
That was what the CDA.
And I'm fine, I mean, I don't care, I just want to know who I should follow up with.
The motion was CDA, right? That was.
It's asking,
Oh, it was and or.
yeah, and yours. I guess I'd like to hear from the board what you, I'd like to hear from the CDA members.
I mean, I think the CDA is the sort of appropriate place for it to be, and just knowing how much we have prioritized, you know, I think that also gives CDA members the ability to have some onus on a particular project. So, I mean, I'm more inclined to submit it to the CDA.
Can I have clarification? Is this a recommendation or are we putting it in the motion now, committee assignments? Because when we talked about it in there, I thought we settled on the ultimate, I just want clarification.
Well, the motion said and CDA and board village
Okay.
board. So I think
Okay,
we're
so you're
just
signing
trying
it, okay.
to figure out, should it be
I
CDA?
mean, once it's in the
or
motion,
board?
then we can't change it, so I'm good. I just wanted clarification on that.
Amend the motion, I'd be up for amending the motion to refer it to CDA to consider it in their 2020 prioritization request.
Yeah.
I think that-
Okay? Trustee?
Yeah, so just discussion wise, so what it means is that what we're not doing is sending it, we're basically holding it for consideration for a 2020 initiative, just so the expectation is understood that it's not going to any committee right now.
Correct. I mean, I think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that my understanding is that we are saying to CDA that this needs to be one of the priorities for 2020.
Oh, I
So,
feel that way.
Consider.
Yeah, I don't think they would.
Consider it.
Consider it.
Yeah, they can.
If they should.
But I'll ensure that they're reminded of the fact that this is something that was talked about, and so when we look at that, we can evaluate it. Does that make sense?
And we would accept it as a priority recommendation
Right.
because we're,
Right.
I guess,
Yes,
by
I think
nature,
yes.
we're not saying, no one should talk about it, we don't want anything to do with it, right? Unless this fails. If this motion fails, then it's like, it's not gonna go anywhere. And either way, we'll go back to the bid board and say, the soonest that the village board would take action on something would be in 2020, if it gets adopted as a board.
I'm okay with looking at it. I mean, we're not saying we're going to prioritize it. We're not saying the CDA is. We're not saying the board is going to ultimately adopt it as a priority in 2020, but I'm okay with continuing discussion on the CDA level for 2020.
Great. What's the motion?
As long as everybody's in.
What's the motion, Mike? What's the motion?
Motion is, move that the CDA consider this as an initiative for inclusion in the 2019 priority. 2020 prioritization process.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. So, village manager report. It's to consider assigning something to
Sure, that's how I can track back. But we can do with it whatever you would like. We had some instruction to go back, both Attorney Bear and myself, to take a look at some of the items relative to conversion therapy. And so it's coming to you this evening. We don't know how the board may desire to proceed. However, one option that we've talked about in the past was the possibility of referring the matter to the HRC. So if that's something that you desire to do, I just listed there as a suggested motion.
I prefer that we leave it as a resolution at this point, and just keep it at that. I'm not at the moment interested in pursuing time in our prior, it's not prioritized, and I know the question is, do we want to write an ordinance at this time? And if we get down to HRC to kind of do the work. So my concern right now is, and I just want to restate it, of why I'm feeling a little pressured. Rebecca has made it very clear time after time that please don't add too many agenda items. We prioritized our workload, there's work plans out there, and we just, the clerk's gonna tell me how long we spent on future agenda items, but if we do this every meeting, it's just gonna get out of hand. So I'm fine if the board would like to delegate that down to HRC, but at some point, we need to prioritize how many new items are getting assigned. And I don't know if you agree with that, but.
I'm a little concerned, I refer it to the HRC because I think a big question is how much, with the likelihood of a countersuit or maybe becoming a defendant in a fairly expensive legal challenge. At this point, I think that's really more of a board decision. I don't think any of us is against the thing, but I think the exposure to large legal fees should reside with the board.
Would Nathan be of it, I mean, if we did assign it to HR, I mean, we do have volunteer committees for reasons, but if we did, would that still go through Nathan, is that correct?
Well, I mean, I think,
Just prioritizing his time.
I mean, they don't really have any power other than to say, we studied the issue and here's our report back to you. right?
Well, and also help draft.
They could, and then
And makes it.
you wouldn't have to, you're not compelled to take any